All right, guys, so part 2 of this video, we're going to be talking about what Sabbath is and a few clarifying points, and then just how we can start incorporating this into our regular rhythms. So at the most basic level, the word Sabbath just means to stop or to cease from work. And so really that is going to be at the heart of the Sabbath rest, is to cease from striving. Sabbath is not it's not equal to a worship service. Sometimes we can be tempted to think, oh yeah, we practice Sabbath by going to church on Sundays. And although that is a great way to spend some of your Sabbath, if you choose to Sabbath on Sundays, would highly encourage you to make that a part of your Sabbath practice, attending a worship service. But it is not equivalent with a worship service. So definitely at the heart of Sabbath and ceasing from striving is making space to be with God, to delight in Him, to rest in Him, and to worship Him. But it is not the same as just going to a worship service. It's actually just a literal 24-hour period, once every 7 days, in which we stop from our labor. It's not the same as a day off. So if you're thinking, well, I do that because I have a weekend. I work for 5 days and then I have 2 Sabbaths, where I stop working on the weekend. The problem with that is that so often days off just turn into just more busying days, whether we're filling them with with chores and errands that we're running, and whatever it is that we do to fill our schedules during those times. Oftentimes we find ourselves going back to work on Mondays even more tired than we left on Fridays, just busying ourselves during our day off, feeling like we have to pack our lives into those days before we have to go back to work on Mondays. And so it's oftentimes it's not the weekends are not, or days off are not ceasing from work, but just end up doing all the work that you just don't get paid for. You'll find that, and there's some great resources for this in the Practicing the Way links that we have below. But it's really helpful actually in taking one of your days off to help yourself prepare for the Sabbath. And so hopefully if you put this into practice, you'll soon find out how much just ceasing from work, it takes effort and practice and just being really intentional about it. And so there are some ways even you can use your day off, if that happens to be a Saturday, you're Sabbathing on Sunday, that you can use that time to prepare for your Sabbath. Finally, Sabbath it's just a time to reset our kind of this frenetic pace of our daily lives, the busying of ourselves with work, the busying with ourselves on our days off, and just whatever it is we do to keep up this hurried pace of our lives. Is to reset that so we can rest in God and refocus our identity really on being creatures who are created to be in relationship with Him. That is what we're aiming for as we set aside this time each week to really reset. And really it does take the full 24 hours to kind of detox ourselves from our daily habits of hurry. My favorite actually description of the Sabbath from the John McCormick's teaching is practicing the sovereignty of God. I love that, practicing the sovereignty of God. And it's really this kind of this reminder for me, at least when I hear that, of this idea that even after 24 hours of ceasing from working, that as I wake up or finish my Sabbath, whatever it looks like, that the world is still spinning, and there is a God who is ruling over all creation, and it is not me. So Sabbath is a great way to practice that. That's just been a helpful thought for me during Sabbath. And so finally, just a few quick tips on how to get started. Would love for you guys to think about and begin to plan even for this week, whether it's Saturday or Sunday this week that you decide to Sabbath. Here's just a few things that you can do to begin to prepare for that. First is just decide what is that period going to look like, how much time. We definitely encourage, as I've said, and I would argue for a full 24-hour period each 7 days. Certainly as you're getting started, again, as our theme of starting where you're at, not where you think you ought to be. If that sounds like too much, just set aside some time in which you are going to detox from the world and the busyness of the world, and to truly rest in God. So decide what that time is going to be. Again, it doesn't have to be a Saturday like the Jewish Sabbath. It doesn't have to be a Sunday during our Christian worship services, but just setting aside a time that works best for your schedule and your job schedule, your days off, when you can really fit it in a time that makes sense. So decide when that's going to be. Second is going to be to create a Sabbath ritual. And by this, I just mean kind of marking the beginning and the end of your Sabbath day. It's lots of ideas, and just, kind of pick one that works for you. There's no magic in this. It's just kind of marking off, delineating that time, setting it apart for rest, and delighting in God, worshiping Him is going to, something like, whether it's lighting a candle, singing a song, reading a specific psalm that you love of your choosing, maybe having a Sabbath meal either at the beginning or end, whatever it is, just something to mark off the beginning and the end. If it's just I think one that I thought was awesome that they suggest at Bridgetown was having a shutdown ritual. If you're doing a full kind of detox from all digital devices on Sabbath, is putting your phone away, turning it off, shutting your computer down, and putting it away. Just great ideas to mark off. This is a time that I'm setting aside for the Lord. So creating some sort of Sabbath ritual is going to be number 2. And then third, kind of close to that, is just putting away all work. Anything work related, or anything that might kind of resemble or tempt you into working. Some of you might be thinking, I'm rarely tempted to work on my days off, but I know for many of us, especially if we have emails on our phone, so easily that email can just pop up, and we can just get pulled into work that we have to do, or that we feel like we have to do, that probably could be put off until our Sabbath day is over. So obviously, again, none of this is legalistic, so figure out whatever works for you. But these are just some great practices and some great habits that you can begin in order to set yourself up for success in resting on the Sabbath. I would suggest a kind of a full digital detox, not having your phone on you at all. I really make that a huge effort on my Sabbath. But if you need to have your phone by you, or for whatever reason it might be, just kind of setting screen time limits. There's great ways to do that, at least on Apple. I don't know about Android. I'm sure there is. People who have Androids tell me they can do anything. So setting limits for your apps, especially ones like your email apps, or that'll pull you away into work, or just time-sucking apps like mobile games and social media, things like that, that can pull you out of your Sabbath and into just your normal, whether it's escapist behaviors, busying behaviors, or work. And finally, just plan out the kind of things that contribute to rest. So the kind of things that you can do on your Sabbath, or the kind of things that you want to participate in your Sabbath that will contribute to kind of this resting and worshiping God, delighting in Him. Could be just a number of ideas, like going on walks, just enjoying nature. If you like to paint, I'm not good at that, but painting, reading, just having some great long talks with friends over coffee or tea or Zoom, spending kind of a focused time in prayer, maybe just getting some lengthening your silence and solitude time that day for prayer and Bible reading. Taking a nap is a great idea. If you're able to nap, I love naps. So taking a nap is a great way to spend your Sabbath. Just kind of eating without rushing, just doing everything without hurrying to the end of it. You're just detoxing yourself from hurry. So just some ideas to get you started. we got a lot more coming up this week on what you can be doing, and we just hope this is a great practice. Again, just want to finish where we started, this idea that this is not a legalistic demand that we're trying to place on you. Please don't hear this as another burden that we're placing on you, but just an invitation to resting in Jesus and connecting better with Him. Hope you find that in a Sabbath routine that you can put into practice in your life, and just know that we're definitely praying for you to do that. Love you guys.